We just finished tap drilling and we are actually ready to go ahead and tap our hole. And tapping basically means we're going to cut threads inside of the hole we just drilled so that we can put screws or things like that into it. Let's look at the plans here and then talk about the different tools we're going to need and then get going on tapping. So again, we talked about this tap setup or the tap call out. It's a half 20 UNF, okay? Half inch diameter, 20 threads per inch. UNF is the fine thread call out. Now to tap, we're going to need a few specialized tools here. First is the tap. Okay, that's a half inch tap. There are 20 threads per inch on this tap. This is your tap wrench. It's going to be used to hold the tap in place. Okay, this is our tap guide. It's going to be used to keep everything in line with the axis of the hole. And this is our countersink. And the countersink is going to give us a little bit of a dish on the hole that we just cut to help funnel the tap into place. So the tap wrench, if you look on the end there, has got a squared off opening. That squared off opening matches the square end of the tap. So I'm going to put that tap into the squared portion of the tap wrench and tighten this down real tight. Alright, so now when I turn the tap wrench, I'm going to turn the tap actually cutting into my workpiece. On the other side of the tap wrench, okay, there's a little divot or hole. That hole is going to fit the end of the tap guide. This tap guide is spring loaded, so it's going to keep pressure on the tap wrench as I am actually cutting here. So let's go over, before we tap, we have to go ahead and countersink first. We've got a countersink set up right now in the lathe, so we're just going to go ahead and countersink the tapped hole a little bit to provide a place for the tap to follow. So we're loaded up. I'm going to slide my tailstock over, lock it in place again. When we countersink, we're at a lower RPM, so I've got this set to about 260 RPM on the gearbox. I'm going to apply a little bit of cutting fluid to the hole in the countersink, and I'm only just trying to cut a little bit here. I'm not cutting very far at all. So we'll turn this on. And we'll just create a little itty bitty dish or countersink here that will help funnel the tap up and into the hole. So we're going to go ahead and take a break here. We'll set up for tapping and we'll see you in a second. We got our tap set up, ready to go. I put the tap guide in the drill chuck. Okay, that tap guide is going to again fit the hole in the end of the tap wrench. I'm going to slide my tailstock over until the tap funnels into that hole. And I'm going to advance the tailstock close to the tap wrench and lock the tailstock in place. As we cut, okay, we're going to rotate this around, okay, feeding the tap into the hole. We are periodically going to need to adjust the tension between the tap wrench and the tap guide. So occasionally we are going to need to advance the quill to take up the slack as the tap moves down the hole. Now because we're going to turn this, we need to have a way to prevent the spindle from turning as we're turning the tap. So I've set the RPM at as low as it will go, 40 RPM. What that does is it sets up a gear train that is very difficult to turn by hand. So that should provide enough resistance for us to be able to tap without having the spindle just start turning for us or with us. Tapping is going to require lots of lubrication, so we are going to go ahead and lube up the tap, okay, and we are going to lube up the workpiece in the hole there. Now to tap, we're going to advance this by hand. Right? We can't just run this tap in all at once. We're going to have to advance it a turn or two, then back out a little bit, and then advance it and work our way slowly in until we're about an inch in. If I look at my tap, okay, I'm going to use just by eye, in inches maybe about here. So I'm going to tap, okay, until I have about 1/4 of an inch worth of tap outside of the hole. That will tell me I'm about close enough to my finished depth for tapping. So to tap, you're going to go ahead and support the tap wrench, advance the tap a turn or two, and you're going to back it up to break the chips. You're going to advance it, back it up, advance it, back it up. You're going to do this over and over until you get to the correct depth. Don't forget to support the tap wrench. Okay? And as you continue to go in with the tap, you're going to notice that the tap guide starts to press out. So again, periodically you're going to need to advance to keep that tight to your tap wrench. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to tap this for you so you can see what the whole process looks like. Okay, that should be deep enough for what we're doing. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and move the tailstock out of the way. Make sure you support the tap wrench. We don't want this to come out at an angle and risk the chance of breaking the tap. And slowly unscrew or unthread the tap. Now the inside of this hole is going to be a little gunky with chips and stuff. Okay, so you may need to run this tap in and out a couple times to clear all the stuff out of there. Okay, but that should be threaded now to fit a 1/2-20 screw. And you can see the inside of the hole there. It's got threads in it. We're going to take a 1/2-20 screw. And we're going to go ahead and thread that into the hole. So that goes nice. It's a little sticky, like I said, because there's chips stuck in there, but we'll clean those out and make that hole nice and clean, and that screw should run in no problem. So that's how you tap, folks.